Uh, this week's parsha is called Chaye Sarah. Chaye means the life of, and Sarah is Sarah, the wife of Abraham. And Abraham, although it's called the life of Sarah, all we know of her is it begins with telling us how old she is, and then it goes on and talks about something else. So for right now, we're going to look at where it says that Abraham was old, well on in years, and God had blessed Abraham with everything. So we're going to explore this evening in tonight's Shabbat service. What does that mean, being blessed with everything? And what is the full expression of being blessed? So with that, I think it is about time for the next slide. And so what came to mind about being blessed with everything is this idea of paying attention to every day. And we started the service with some chit chat, which I love. And Heidi was talking about the beautiful colors where she lives. And, you know, there's the sky tonight before services when I took a little walk, just beautiful. So we teach us to treasure each day from Psalm 90. Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Teach us to treasure each day. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Limnot yameinu. Limnot yameinu. Limnot yameinu kein hoda the Navi levav chokhmah. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. And now I'd like to welcome Mike and Julie to bring in the lights of Shabbat. So Mike and Julie, this is your moment, and we can take off that slide and just focus on you guys at your house.
I want to make sure you can see this. Hopefully you can see this.
We can see you. Thank you.
Hopefully you can see this.
So for those of us at home, if you'd like to stand to honor this moment.
Hopefully we can get matches. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'hanekner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for honoring us and letting us into your home. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a bracha is kind of an interesting word. Bracha, the B, the R, and the Ch, those three letters, mean bless. They also are the same word for your knees, berkayim. So maybe we might think of kneeling as a blessing. And it's also linked to the word for swimming pool, brecha. So it might be fun to think about that at another time, the link between kneeling, praying, and a swimming pool. But this teaching from Roberta Latta, when something bad happens to you, you can learn from it. And when something good happens, you can be grateful for it. And that bracelet says, Gam zu litova. Gam is also, zu is this, and la tova for good. Also this is for the good. And we'll be talking more about that later. So we get ready to welcome in the Sabbath bride. She is waiting. She's been waiting all week since Havdalah to be welcomed back. La 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 chadudi. La 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 likrat kala. La 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 panei Shabbat. Panei Shabbat lekabela. Shambo v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishviyanu el hamichad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. Shemu tiferet bli tchila. La 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 l'chadji. La 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 l'krat kala. La 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 panei Shabbat. Panei Shabbat lekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha. Ki bekor habracha. Mirosh mikedem nescha. סוף הסב במחשבת תחילה. לה 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 לחדדי. לה 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 לקראת קלה. לה 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 פני שבת. פני שבת לקבלה. התעוררי. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. And this is where we stand, if we're able, thinking that about the Sabbath bride who's been waiting since last Saturday night to come back and join us in our hearts. Boi v'shalom. Boi v'shalom. Ateret bala. Gam b'simcha ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לה 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 לחדדי לה 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 Sabbath bride is in. We stand one more time. La 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 Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Le'olam Va'ed. Ya la 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 Please be seated. So Heidi, you spoke a little bit about the beautiful colors that you see outside your door. And I hope all of us saw beautiful things this week. And we bless the changes. We bless when the day becomes night and when the night turns into day, and that we can be alert and not nonchalant about it, but rather, you know, it's a blessing. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. As we think about that theme of Abraham being blessed with everything, and we'll talk later about how that's possible. We allow in the message of Psalm 27:1 that the eternal is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The eternal is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Ahavatulam Beit Yisrael Amacha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadita Al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shochbenu הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה נגע יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל. We stand for Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem Emet. So I want to allow there to be a little conversation at this point, a discussion, because we know that Abraham was blessed with everything, but it wasn't always so easy. And just this idea of how we keep our faith up even when life is difficult. So I'm going to ask Nick, are you on? Nick Alexander, are you there?
Yes.
So if you could read 1 through 6, and then we'll see, just kind of, I'll ask any of you if one of those kind of speaks more to you than another one, and we'll just talk about it for a little bit. So would you please read How to Keep Your Faith Up Even When Life is Difficult?
Okay. 1. Pray. Ask God, the universe, or whatever higher force you believe in for the strength to live to your full potential. 2. Be generous to others. 3. Get inspired. 4. Surround yourself with people and ideas you admire. 5. Get the ball rolling first thing in the morning. 6. Stay present.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask Heidi, if all of those, is there one that kind of speaks to you, or would you add a number 7?
Number 4, surround yourself with people and ideas you admire.
Thank you. Anyone else could help us with one of those that really speaks to you?
Stay present.
Yeah.
Also, this is Mike Polis here. Get the ball rolling first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Just get the ball rolling. Just on generally kind of move it along. Be active, get involved. So
It doesn't need to be first thing in the morning. It
No,
needs,
exactly. No, that's why, just progress towards something. I mean, I was driving, and I'll tell you real quick, I was driving out, it was pouring right this past weekend, and I was driving, and the grasses on my fields, they've been pretty much non-existent for the last 2.5 months, and I just saw a hint of green coming out on, and I'm thinking, oh, thank goodness, So it was like that, get the ball rolling. It's just like just seeing the little bit of hint of green. Oh, it's just like, thank goodness.
right. I think Rick Snyder and I were talking about that as well. There's a field, Rick, right by your house where you saw it's been barren and dry and terrible, and suddenly a little carpet was growing.
Grass was everywhere. Little clovers were growing up everywhere. I tend to agree with Mike, but mine is a little more practical. I'm first thing in the morning, make my bed, get dressed, get ready for the day, and from there move on to everything else.
Anybody else have another one that they would add to this list about how to keep your faith up even when life is difficult?
I think this is Sherry. I think the number 2 means a lot. I don't know that it's always generous, be generous to others, but if I can step outside of myself and look after somebody else, that typically helps me keep my faith up.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? That medicine of extending to others. It fills you up, and yep, that works. Anyone else before we move into Michamocha?
I was going to add to, this is Julie Polis.
Hi, Julie.
I was just going to add the same one for be generous. I think several of you know, so I teach high school, and all of my kids are English learners. So my whole day is about being generous because my kids they need so many things. So especially in this time, it's just kind of about stepping outside of what we need and just really helping the students who have a lot of needs right now. So it's a very, can be tiring, but it's very satisfying kind of work.
Right, and it keeps your spirits up.
Yeah.
It
does both, but but it can be, it can energize too.
Right, that's what I mean. It keeps your energy up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Rabbi?
Yeah, Hank.
I find myself under those moments when life is difficult that I do look up, and I'll admit I might not be praying to God, but I do look up and I say, Dad, you told me there'd be days like this.
Right.
And however it's incarnated at that particular time, that's bottom line what it is. I do find that for somehow he speaks back. He makes me feel like, yeah, I'm walking in those shoes like he had done earlier. So
that's great.
Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah. So it's a looking up, and it's a connecting with your dad's spirit, right? And you can actually hear him. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it. Absolutely.
I bet you that there's a number of us that turn to our loved ones who are no longer living in the physical plane as this one, and we turn to them for some strength or a reminder that we can get through it. And they're there. They are there for us. All right, my friends, let's enter Michamocha about, holding on to those things we just talked about. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha letav hakodesh, Norat tehilot osef eleh, Norat tehilot osef eleh. Mahachutecha ra'u v'necha, Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zayelianu ve'amru, Zayelianu ve'amru, Adonai kifat Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Hashkevenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu makenu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily wrong from right. Amen. 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 So the words of Yismechu are about Samech, rejoicing in and observing Shabbat with oneg, with joy. That this day is sacred for us. We should remember creation, and on the seventh day we rest. Yismechu b'malechutecha, shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malechutecha, shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei Shvi Shabbat, kulam yisbechu v'yitagu v'dibecha Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashta Shabbat. Chemdat yamim oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Zecher lemase v'reishit Shabbat. Zecher lemase v'reishit Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. So if you're able to, please stand as we prepare for the Tefillah. The word in Hebrew that's on that beautiful slide is Tehillah, which means praise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibur v'Hanura, Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem L'man Shemo B'Yavam Melech Chozer Moshia U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah Ata Gibor Le'elam Adonai Mechaye Metim Ata Rav Lo Shia Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem, which means, dear God, let's have more wind and a lot more rain. Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechaye Metim B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishanei Afar, Michamocha Bal Givurot, Umidomelach, Melech Memit, Umachaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lahachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hametim. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom ya'alu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. We ask that our presence here and our prayers and our energy and our willing to be present, we know that all our efforts are accepted and welcomed by God. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam b'ahava tekabel u'tahil ratzon tamit avodat Yisrael Yisrael amecha Baruch atah Adonai she'odecha levadecha b'yira navod navod navod. This, my friends, is called a shaviti. It's a piece of art. It doesn't need to be as beautiful or as elaborate as this. It's something that we can make, and we place the words Shiviti Adonai Lenegdi Tamid from Psalm 16 on it, which means, let me place God before me always. And if it is made, or if we purchase one, we put it on a wall that faces east. And it's considered like a meditation helper, I guess, for lack of another word. The idea that it's on the east wall toward Jerusalem. This looks like an ark, doesn't it? Very beautiful colors. Shiviti Adonai Lenegdi Tamid. Let me place God before me always. Shiviti Adonai Lenegdi. Shiviti Adonai Lenegdi. Shiviti Adonai Lenegdi. Shiviti Adonai Lenegdi. Adonai Lenegdi, Adonai Lenegdi, Adonai Lenegdi Tamid. Adonai Lenegdi, Adonai Lenegdi, Adonai lenegdi tamid. Shalom Rav, HaYisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, HaYisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום. שלום רב, הישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב, הישראל עמך תשים לעולם. טוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב, הישראל עמך תשים לעולם. Shalom Rav, HaYisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam, Tasim Leolam, Tasim Leolam. So tonight, my friends, we send our energy of love and healing to those of us who are on this Zoom service who may be facing some hardship or suffering of body or mind or spirit, and to our dear friends, our relatives who are in need of healing. And at this point, if you would please say the names so that we can pray for all of them together.
Kevin Priest, Sherry Jones, Roman.
Tony Maynard, Stanley Carter, Bill McDonald.
Annie Kim. Jack Kennedy.
Gilbert Simon.
Robin Gillette, Deb Hyman, Sandy Lewin, Misha Beirach Avotenu Mekor Habracha Laimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu Mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Well, we're not there yet, but take a good look at our beautiful sanctuary because we are going to get there. So, Rick, what image shall we show?
This one is what's here to bar.
Okay, so we don't have to look at that anymore, but it's nice to see. I've been thinking, my friends, about that verse in this week's Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, that creates kind of a spiritual conundrum. The text says that Abraham is blessed with everything. In Hebrew, it means the Hebrew is bakol. He's blessed with everything. And later in the same parsha, Abraham dies at a good old age, and it says that he's mature and content. Savea. That word savea means can mean content. It can mean sated. It can mean filled up. So on a purely literal level, it would seem that Abraham was blessed with everything and died content, and it looks like he's lived a pretty sweet life. However, we know that it was not always easy and not always lovely and not always sweet. There was some serious suffering in Abraham's life. He had 10 significant trials. Maimonides lists them as follows, and see if they're familiar to you. God tells him to leave his homeland and be a stranger in the land of Canaan. 2, immediately after his arrival in the promised land, he encounters famine. 3, the Egyptians seize his beautiful wife Sarah and bring her to the Pharaoh. It's not good. 4, Abraham faces incredible odds in the battle of the 4 and 5 kings. 5, he marries Hagar after not being able to have children with Sarah. And then 6, God tells him to circumcise himself at a very advanced age. 7, the king of Gerar captures Sarah, intending to take her for himself. 8, God tells him to send away Hagar after he's had a child with her. 9, his son Ishmael becomes estranged. That's heartache. And 10, then God tells him to sacrifice Isaac on an altar. Abraham had plenty of suffering. So how is it then that the Torah says that God blessed him with everything and that he died filled up? Well, as you know, suffering can either use us or we can use our suffering. There's not a single biblical role model who didn't suffer. They became our role models due to how they transformed their suffering, allowing them to be worthy of God's grace and to become a bracha, a blessing. It was only because they permitted their trials to assail them for the benefit of their soul's growth that they merit, in Hebrew, the word zchut, which has to do with merit and lets them continue to shine in our lives. So I want to look at a couple examples about how the rabbis viewed this idea of suffering and transforming it. In a midrash from the 2nd century, a compilation called Midrash Rabbah, we learned that when a person is tested, it's less about the test and more about how that person manages the test. So in the following example I'm about to share, the rabbis compare Abraham to a tightly closed vial of incense. So here we go. It says that Rabbi Berkiah says, what did Abraham resemble? Abraham resembled a vial, that's V-I-A-L, not a vial of myrrh closed with a tight-fitting lid and lying in a corner so that its fragrance was not disseminated. But as soon as that vial was taken up or broken open, exposed to heat, its fragrance was disseminated. Similarly, the Holy One said to Abraham, Lech lecha, get up and go from place to place, and your name will become great in the world. So through the unexpected upheaval, Abraham's essence became known. Another teaching from the sages about transforming suffering is where the individual accepts the suffering and has faith that something good will come out of it eventually. This parable is also from the 2nd century in the Talmud, Tractate Brachot 60b, and it features Rabbi Akiva. Once when Rabbi Akiva was traveling, he had with him a donkey, a rooster, and a torch. When he could not find lodging in town, he had to sleep in the woods. He said, all that God does is for the good. When the donkey and the rooster were eaten by wild animals, he said, all that God does is for the good. When the torch was blown out by the wind, he said, all that God does is for the good. The next morning, Rabbi Akiva learned that bandits had destroyed the town overnight. He realized that had he had found lodging in the town, or had the bandits seen the torch, or heard the donkey or the rooster, his life would have been in jeopardy. Rabbi Akiva exemplifies that his misfortunes were actually for the best. Another famous Talmudic story about the mindset of transforming suffering into good is Nachum Ish Gamzu, a nickname for an individual who reacted to misfortune with optimism. It is related that in later years, Nachum's hands and feet became paralyzed. He was afflicted with severe physical ailments. He bore his troubles patiently, however, and even found some good in them. And that's why they say, Gamzu Latova. This too is for the good. Today, my friends, I spoke with someone out of town who is in the ICU, and she is getting better, but it's been a difficult road. She laughed, however, when she told me that she likes that she's in the room number 22. I said, what's so good about room 22? She says, because in Yiddish, we have a custom of making a spitting sound to keep the evil eye away. And she said that when she told the nurses, they all laughed. No one wants suffering. No one wants suffering. However, when it happens, the suffering uses us, or we can use that suffering to grow. A contemporary teacher of this is the 20th century theologian Reinhold Niebuhr, whose statement of faith is called the Serenity Prayer. And that has helped millions of people transform feeling like a powerless victim into people with save'ah, serenity and sanity. While very known by those in recovery, it is a suffering transformer, and it can be used by anyone. I can imagine Abraham saying such a prayer during the times of his suffering. The words go as follows: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We could spend a long time talking about what those three parts mean, but for now, accept the things that I cannot change means that we accept the negative or terrible thing that has happened. Accepting it does not mean that we want it or that it's good. It means that we accept that it has happened. The courage to change the things that I can means that there are things I can do, like when our discussion, get the ball rolling. This takes courage when certain situations deplete our desire to do anything. We're asked to think if there are any actions at all that we can do to help, big or small. And the wisdom to know the difference, that means that we can discern between the acceptance of the negative thing from what we can do. When I think about Abraham's hard life, and the Torah says that he was blessed bakol with everything and died with save'ah, filled up and content, it is no longer a conundrum, because I realize that Abraham's life embodies the ability to transform the suffering. In this way, his life will always be a blessing to us. We would now like to show you a short video that packs into just a few moments deep insight into how faith might work in our lives.
It's a question of faith. Don't start talking about God. I'm not talking about God, Hanan. I'm talking about faith. Isn't it the same thing? No. Faith is fundamentally human. Here, for example, I reached out to shake your hand, and I had faith that you would shake it back. What if I hadn't? But you did. But what if I hadn't? Then you wouldn't have. It doesn't change the fact that in the moment I had faith. Doesn't the outcome matter? Not when it comes to faith. The outcome is the future. Faith is a present. You're not making any sense. I never said faith is about making sense. Faith is about trust. Faith is our ability to trust life. I trust logic and reason, science. Believing in science is also faith. You're trusting that things will work according to scientific calculations. And they do, most of the time, except for when they don't. For example, you believe that doctors will be able to help you when you're sick. And they do, most of the time, except for when they don't. That's life. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have faith. So are you saying there's nothing we can do? We're supposed to just sit back and let whatever happens, happen? No, I never said faith was passive. On the contrary, faith is active. That's the point. Faith is experienced through life. It's about delving into the experience of life. But how are we supposed to have any control? Who's talking about having control? We're talking about having faith, which we get by believing in God. Just because you believe in God, Hanan, doesn't mean you have faith. And if you don't believe in God, it doesn't mean that you don't have faith. So where does faith come from? Faith is experienced through life. Faith is our ability to trust life. But what if things don't work out the way I want in life? How am I supposed to have faith then? Faith is about letting life educate us instead of trying to solve life in terms of what we expect life should be. So you're saying just let go. No, I told you. Faith is about being active, not passive. Well, if life is whatever it's going to be, regardless of what we expect or want it to be, then what can we possibly do? Just be. Experience it. Experience a moment. And at the same time, take the next step. But I don't want to repeat the same mistakes I've made in the past. Faith isn't about the past. It's about the present. Faith is always now. But then how are we supposed to know what to do? By listening to what's inside of us, connecting to the present moment and letting the experience educate us. Trust life, Hanan, and take the next step. But what if the next time I make the wrong decision? What if is a future? But faith is always now. The next time is the first time. That's completely overwhelming. The unstable situations are an invitation to believe. Delve in deeper. Embrace life, especially when it's not going the way you expect or want. Life is just too uncertain for me to simply trust in it, Dad. Hanan, some of the choices you make are going to turn out to be right, and some are going to be wrong. That's precisely the problem. But that's not what faith is about. Faith is about the way in which we make our choices. When we make a choice with faith, it's an internal choice, a creative choice. We are actually creating the present moment without fear of the future or regrets about the past. Creating? Yes. Faith is a bridge between the past and the future. Faith is our ability to trust life while taking the next step. To trust that the person will return our handshake. I don't know, it sounds too simple. Almost childish. It's easier for us to connect to faith when we're children. When you were a little boy, Hanan, you always believed that I would come home, even on the evenings that I didn't. And the next day, you believed again that on that evening I would come home, even if I didn't. But eventually you did. You always did. You know, Hanan, someday I'm not going to be here anymore. I won't come home anymore. Wow, Daddy, it feels like we've been riding forever. When are we getting there? Don't you see, Hanan? We're already here.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, שלום, שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. Like to call on Mike and Julie, or Mike or Julie, or one of you to share the announcements.
That's perfect.
Thank
Thank you. Good. We have some really good things going on, so I just want to make some quick announcements. Of course, the food fair is over. It went very well. So appreciate all the volunteers, all those who helped. It was our 44th one, and we never know, especially with COVID, how it's going to turn out. And it really did. Thanks again for all the volunteers. It was a tremendous success. For those who participate by buying, thank you so much. It really helps out the synagogue, and it's really a really great community event. So I'm really happy for that. So again, thanks again for all the volunteers who led it and how well it turned out. On Saturday, tomorrow, of course, it's a Torah study at 9 with Rabbi Nancy. Sunday, it's Neshama is in session, so the kids will be there. Thursday, November 4th, from 6 to 7:15 is Rosh Kaddish Torah, studying and celebrating with Rabbi Nancy in person at the CBS Social Hall. And you can actually go on our website and sign up for it. It looks really, really fun. So certainly take a look at that. Of course, go to our website anyways. There's, I'm giving the announcements now, but you can see other things that are going on and kind of plan your month a bit. But again, the Thursday from 4 to 6, Thursday the 4th from 6 to 7:15 is Rosh Kaddish and Torah studying and celebrating with Rabbi Nancy. It's going to be in person, so mask up and all of that. Friday, November 5th, from 6 to 7. From 6 is family Shabbat service, and that'll actually be in person. So certainly check the website. There are some requirements we have relative to in-person services, but again, that's Friday, November 5th, from 6 o'clock is family Shabbat services. Also, Eden Cohen is his bar mitzvah coming up. He's got a really interesting project. Eden is collecting clean and gently used sleeping bags and blankets to be donated to Loaves and Fishes, which I go by almost every day, which will then be distributed to the homeless. Eden has placed boxes in the hallway in the synagogue, outside the CBS office, to drop off the sleeping bags and blankets. Drop-off dates are Sunday morning, October 31st, Halloween, and November 7th from 9 to 11:30 a.m. Eden thanks you for supporting the mitzvah project and those in need. So, yeah, step in to the extent you have those, nicely, gently used sleeping bags or blankets. That's the one thing when it rains and it gets cold and we're getting into that. That's the first thing I think about is, those that are not as fortunate. So again, Eden's doing a great thing, so certainly support him. CBS is proud to continue the Thanksgiving turkey drive tradition for the Sierra Arden Neighborhood Food Closet. It is a wonderful CBS tradition, and giving that in November, we collect from our members frozen turkeys and Thanksgiving fixings for the food closet. Drop-off dates are, and volunteers are needed, But the drop-off dates are November 7th from 12 to 2. That's Sunday, November 7th. Sunday, November 14th from 9:30 to 11 a.m., of course. And then Sunday, November 21st, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So certainly if you want to participate in that, which is, of course, a great cause, just like what Eden's doing relative to collecting those sleeping bags, certainly do. People are in great need. So again, I went through these relatively quickly because I know I don't want to hold anyone, but all of this is on our website. So, if there's something that you want to, get involved in or see or get more information on, certainly go to our website. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So my friends, we complete our service with the last two prayers. If you're able to stand. Elena is a prayer that speaks about our destiny and our destiny as children of the one Creator. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומשה וקרא בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום להשיבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. When your loved one's name is said, please stand in their honor and then in their memory. Emma Ronquillo Nalangan, Bob Unger, Bill Jenkins, Linda Clark, Sergeant Beryl Hadera Shmuley, Raquel Kagan de Apasoa, Dennis Mathit, Sandra Jeffrey, Florenciano Carbajal, Nancy Ann Sutter, Charlie Hilty, Murray Fink, Maria Pellegrino Eisner, Sheila Sugarman, Nancy Norton Fleischman, Raul Saavedra, Leroy Davis, Sarah Everard, Christine Verano, Ann Kilcrease, Gloria Dotti, Susan Blum, Jerome Marvin Hyman, Ivan Krakowski, Michael Salmon. And we remember with love those whose yahrzeit falls on this Shabbat. Marian Adler, mother of Elliot Adler, Jim Codron, husband of Gladys Codron, Murray Elliott Cohn, father of Marjorie Blum, Selma Rendler Dritz, mother of Barbara Cotland, Harry Fleischfighter, father of Marcia Edelstein, Betty Friedman, aunt of Carol Klein, Benita Pasquale, beloved mother of Heidi Mathet, Betty Friedman, aunt of Carol Klein, Oswald Leonard, brother-in-law of Jean Bagoon, Harold Mandel, Morris Marcus, Dean Myrtle, husband of Vicky, father of Hannah, Bailey, and Jenna, and Robert Isaac Patent. Are there any other yahrzeits or recent deaths in our community? Zichronam Livracha, May all their memories be for a blessing. We stand as one community and we offer the Kaddish Prayer. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'yamad yivrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'galav zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitchoman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata da'miran v'yama v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yakol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. Please be seated. So we began with this psalm about an hour ago, to treasure each day. And through this service, we've all taken kind of a journey about what it means to transform suffering, being present, getting the ball rolling, but to treasure what we have right here in the moment. Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Teach us to treasure each day. Limnot yameinu, limnot yameinu, limnot yameinu kein hoda v'navi levav chochma. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. So if you have access to fruit of the vine, or your favorite grape beverage, or something that resembles Borei Pri Agafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri agafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'natzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yavav ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'charta, yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'achava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. Next week, if you come to make braid challah with me, you'll have your own challah for Shabbat or to give away. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. So I want to thank Rick Snyder for doing a great job. And let's unmute so we can say Shabbat Shalom to one another.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Nancy. Shabbat Shalom, Rick. Shabbat Shalom, Joel. Shabbat Shalom, Jean and Kathy. Shabbat Shalom, Louisette. Shabbat Shalom, Michael. And I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Julie. And Shabbat Shalom, Gil. Shabbat Shalom, Cherie. Shabbat Shalom, Nick and Sharon. Shabbat Shalom, Hank. And Shabbat Shalom, Ray.
And we also have Shabbat Shalom James, who just had a birthday. Who is, how old are you, James?
How old are you?
I'm 8.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Good to be 8. You just had a birthday. Happy birthday,
Oh yeah.
James.
happy birthday, Samaya.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Have a-
Rabbi, we'll
have a
see you at
really
Torah
nice
study
week.
in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.